In Deuteronomy 18, Moses tells Israel that Yahuwah is going to raise up a prophet like him to them from among their brothers, and that they need to listen to him. Verse 18 says, I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren like unto thee, and will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him. And it shall come to pass that whosoever will not hearken unto my words which he shall speak in my name, I will require it of him. But the prophet which shall presume to speak a word in my name which I have not commanded him to speak, or that shall speak in the name of other gods, even that prophet shall die. So disregarding the words of this prophet like Moses will cost you your life. Therefore, it is imperative that you properly identify him and that you know what he taught. So let's take a brief look at the parallels between the lives of Moses and Yeshua. Moses was born in Egypt during an attempted genocide by an Egyptian pharaoh. Yeshua was born in Judea during an attempted genocide by an Edomite king. Moses was spared by staying in Egypt. Yeshua was spared by fleeing to Egypt. Moses, of his own accord, judges an Egyptian by killing him and hiding him in the sand, and is later accused for it by the Hebrews. But in John 8, when the woman accused of adultery was brought to Yeshua by the Pharisees to accuse him, he wrote in the sand and made them judge themselves and told them that he judges no man. Moses' training occurs in the backside of the desert at Mount Horeb. Yeshua's training occurs in the wilderness on at least 2 different mountains. Moses delivers his people from Egypt with plagues, and so does Yeshua. The salvation of Yahuwah is seen when Moses parts the Red Sea. His vengeance is seen when the Euphrates dries up to prepare the way for the kings of the east. The Song of Moses is sang in Exodus 15 and Revelation 15. In Exodus 18, Moses was judging Israel and teaching them God's statutes and laws, although the covenant wasn't made until Exodus 20. So Moses knew what God required before we ever see God telling him. And in John 7, the Jews want to know how Yeshua knows the scriptures without being taught. And Yeshua tells them it is because his doctrine is not his, but his who sent him. So whose doctrine did Moses teach? Joshua 23 verse 6 says, Be ye therefore very courageous to keep and to do all that is written in the book of the law of Moses. But Joshua 24 verse 26 says, And Joshua wrote these words in the book of the law of God. Then in Ezra chapter 7, we are told that Ezra was a ready scribe in the law of Moses. But in Artaxerxes' letter, he addresses Ezra as a scribe of the law of the God of heaven. And in Nehemiah 8, the people gather and tell Ezra to bring the book of the law of Moses. But then we see them reading in the book in the law of God. 2 Chronicles 34 verse 14 tells us that Hilkiah the priest found a book of the law of Yahuwah given by Moses. So the book of the law of Moses is the book of the law of God. So if Yeshua taught something different than what Moses taught, then he cannot be a prophet like Moses. In Numbers 1, we see the names of the 12 appointed by God to stand with Moses. And in Luke 6, we get the same for Yeshua. And in Luke 9, he sends them out. Then in Numbers 11, we see the appointment of the 70. And in Luke 10, we see either 70 or 72 sent out by Yeshua. Moses ascends the mount to feast with God and receive the covenant. He then returns to the golden calf apostasy after 40 days in Exodus 32. And the same happens with Yeshua in Revelation 19. This is also foreshadowed by the transfiguration. Moses offers his life to atone the people's sin, and Yeshua does the same. Moses then ascends the mount to receive the covenant a second time, tabernacles with God, and returns reflecting his glory. And the same is foreshadowed for Yeshua in Revelation 10. Some of the aspects of Moses' life are still to come in Yeshua's story, like making the bitter water sweet and leading Israel through the wilderness. But there are also things that Yeshua must achieve that Moses didn't, like speaking to the rock to bring forth the water and leading Israel into the promised land, where he will set up the tabernacle of God. And in my series on the wedding feast of the Lamb, I explore each of these topics in day 6 and beyond.